Hey, Chris here from Prima Coffee Equipment. Today we're going to talk about just some beginning tips for tamping for espresso. So tamping is one of the really unique parts of making espresso. It's essential that you really compress that puck of coffee to create the necessary restriction for that interaction to actually happen. So tamping can kind of be unpredictable, difficult, a little complicated, and it has really big implications for what comes out of your machine. That's why we're going to offer some beginning tips if you're just getting started doing this. So first, let's go ahead and dose some coffee. Something that is often overlooked when you're tamping is where it starts, and it really starts, that is, even distribution and packing starts when you grind. So as I dose into this portafilter, I'm going to be doing my best to make sure that as the coffee leaves the spout here, it's really evenly settling in here. I don't want it to blast against one wall and pack up there. I want it to settle really evenly. So I'm going to move this around as I actually dose. Let's go ahead and weigh that, tare that, make sure we're getting the right dose there. I'm going to weigh that just to make sure being consistent helps, and consistent preparation to weigh your doses and everything. So about 19.5 grams there, which is just fine. So at this point I have a loose pile of coffee grounds in the basket. I did my best just to make sure they're settling evenly in there. Now I'm going to give them a little bit of a shake just to make sure they're settling even more, get rid of that big mound before I press, and then use my finger to sort of push them back and forth. This part is kind of like when you're measuring flour into a measuring cup as you bake. It kind of forms some air pockets and it doesn't really settle evenly. It's not really dense enough to fall that way. So you kind of just move this around, use your fingers, just make sure it's nice and even before you even press. So we have pretty evenly distributed, even bed of coffee in there, and now we're going to get ready to tamp. You can use either a normal tamper like this, which has a vertical handle, or a Prima tamp, which is what I'm going to use, which has an adjustable angled handle right there. You do want to make sure as you're tamping that the base of your tamper matches the actual diameter of the basket here. So this is VST basket, which means it's just over 58 millimeters, so 58.35 or so, and that's actually the diameter of this base here. So those are going to mix really well. It's just going to be very flush against the wall so that we're getting all the coffee compacted. So helps you use a tamping mat, keep things stable. I'm going to put my my portafilter on the mat here, and then I'm just going to very gently set the tamper inside of the basket. Not really applying any force here, just sitting inside, and I'm going to put my fingers around the base so I can actually feel the edge of the basket and ensure that it's level. Then, while still sort of feeling that edge, I'm going to get in position with my thumb and pointer finger around the base. I'm going to line up my hand, wrist, arm all the way to my elbow, trying to make sure that everything is aligned all the way through the elbow, and then I'm going to press firmly with roughly 30 pounds of pressure. Press right there, and then I'm going to lighten up and twist. That twist right there is going to help settle loose grounds and polish that puck so that it's nice and even and ready to be extracted. So I mentioned as I was pressing, I used about 30 pounds of pressure. One thing that's very important to emphasize is the much higher importance of evenness over intensity or strength or force. So 30 pounds is good starting place. You can actually use a bathroom scale to get to know what that feels like. What's more important is that you're pressing consistently with the same amount of force and that you're evening that puck. So a puck that's only been pressed with 25 or even 45 pounds of pressure is sort of okay. A puck that's been tilted like this is not okay. So you really want to be emphasizing that evenness, which is one reason that you align everything, hand, wrist, arm up to your elbow, and have this really be even motion right there is going to help make sure that the puck itself is even. So that's been pressed and polished. Right after that, you go ahead and gently lock it in the group head. I say gently because if you, after it's tamped, knock the portafilter anywhere, accidentally hit the group, or you tap it with your hand or something, you're actually kind of disrupting the integrity of that puck, and it's not going to be as evenly compacted anymore. At that point, you can go ahead and boil your espresso, if I've done this well, which is totally possible that I've not, you're gonna see a really nice even stream in the middle after it starts to drip. So you can see that drops are forming into one. I'm using a bottomless portafilter so I can actually see how it's flowing. And it's just about in the middle. There actually is one spray in the back that indicates some channeling, which means a couple of things. It could mean that the coffee grounds are clumping too much, could mean that I've tilted the tamp a little bit, or it could mean that I didn't distribute well when I was first grinding, dosing into there. So there's our shot. After you tamp, I'm just sort of troubleshoot and learn what to do next time. You can check out the wet puck. So you can actually see what went wrong here, and I'm really glad this happened so you can see what yours might look like. You can see there's this little pocket right here where there was something uneven that attracted the water to that spot, so it shot right through. So that's actually a really good example of what you can look for when you're troubleshooting afterwards. If you're not tamping evenly, if something's wrong with the grounds or consistency or the clumping, then you're going to be able to see that afterwards by looking at that wet puck, which is really helpful. Again, I do recommend using bottomless portafilters for that very reason. It helps you to sort of diagnose and troubleshoot while you're brewing. So that's just sort of jumping right into tamping. Give it a few tries and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.